welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hello, and welcome to Syosset Public Library's Turn the Page podcast. I am so thrilled to have on our podcast today author Kalla Harris, whose book, The Ground That Devours US, is a really exciting young adult novel about vampires and actually a vampire apocalypse. So I can't wait to delve into this book and really dissect it and talk to the author. Kalla, it's so wonderful to have you. What inspired you to write this book, and can you tell us a little bit about it?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. So excited to kind of jump in and chat about this book that has lived rent-free in my head for quite a while. But I would say that there have been a lot of things that have inspired The Ground That Devours Us. One of which would probably be The Vampire Diaries. If you pick up the book at any point and check out the acknowledgments, there's a little portion about the vampires in there, but I spent a lot of my preteens watching Vampire Diaries live, but every week, every Thursday. And I found myself not only loving the romance aspects of it, but just the plot, the character arcs, villains, and it really inspired me to kind of want to write this gritty, darker book. And I've always also been a fan of dystopian.
Mhm.
Tahade Mafi, her Shatter Me series was very pivotal as I was a teenager, and Divergent and Hunger Games, all of those things. So I kind of wanted to just mesh all of the things that I loved into one. And Ground That Devours Us is actually a young adult dark dystopian fantasy that follows Ruby Clements, who is a slayer in training. She lives in a human compound called Vale in Charlotte, North Carolina, her twin sister, Ripley. And the story kicks off when a training mission goes awry and Ripley is turned into a vampire. And so Ruby has to team up with the vampire who actually turned her to keep her safe long enough for her to find the cure for vampirism. Only individual, his name is X, he also wants something out of their deal as well. And so shenanigans do, but it's very much a story of sisterhood, and there's a lot of dark humor. Very much a fun book to read.
Yeah, I had such a great time reading this book. Like, I'm a huge fan of vampires in general. Like, I have never watched the Vampire Diaries, but I read a lot of teen vampire stories growing up, and I really just love the lore and everything behind it. But I had never read a book where the vampires like really take over like this, and it's told in a really interesting way. Like, it kind of gave me some like even like Walking Dead vibes, like which I'm a big fan of. But instead of like The Walking Dead, what's interesting is that the vampires are like, it's not like zombies, like they're completely like cogent, and it's very interesting of when they turn, like they really still retain aspects of themselves. Can you tell me about how writing with that was like? Because it was really interesting to read.
Yeah, so I pulled a lot of inspiration from The Walking Dead and
Mhm.
Last of Us, The Last of Us specifically, the show and the video game. But when I set out to Ground That Devours Us, and I knew we were going to be bringing in vampires into the mix, I wanted a unique take on it. And my first thought was, like, what if I don't give them face? And so that kind of just sparked a lot of ideas in my head. And then I was like, well, what if, they have these sharp, elongated nails that have venom embedded inside the nail beds that when they give a deep scratch to a human, it can turn them. And so I wanted to give it a take, but I also really wanted to kind of give it a bit of a zombie vibe to these vampires. But yeah, and I found that I liked to give them, paranormal abilities as well. And yeah, so I really just an exploration how I could kind of take a unique spin on the typical vampire in pop culture.
Yeah, I loved how you created the characters and just kind of like the character of Ruby. Like she really goes on a journey and deals with a lot of issues that really hit home to her. Like she's not alone in this apocalypse. Like she still has her twin sister. And I feel like the relationship between the two of them, especially like when Ripley is turned, it's definitely very interesting because Ripley, there's still a aspects of her there. And then the whole relationship of how X kind of becomes a huge integral part of the story. Like, I love the relationship between those three characters and the dynamic. Like, how you came up with them was really interesting. Like, which character, like, did you like get in your mind first when you were writing the story?
Yeah, so I'd say that Ruby and X kind of jumped out right away for me. Sometimes when I write, characters are finicky. They don't want to tell me who they are right away, and I kind of have to discover them through multiple drafts. But these two characters were very much just, hey, I'm here. Who I am. I knew to create this darker setting, dystopian post-apocalyptic setting, and what that looks like the individuals who are there, right? And so I knew that Ruby had probably experienced some type of loss and backstory and how that has changed her character. And her sister is very much kind of her anchor. I would say her own humanity. Yeah, she is a human, but really is almost the good in her. And so when Rip turned, it flipped everything on its head. Ruby has been taught to hate vampires all her or most of her life. And so she's kind of caught between these two worlds where it's been taught to hate vampires, but yet the sister that she loves so very deeply is now a vampire, and she can't quite just let that go. And so as she, is trying to save Ripley, it kind of comes to play in that maybe Ripley still has her humanity too. Maybe if Ripley does, then maybe vampires as well. And so X is very much a pivotal character in that because I feel like he helped her grow in character arc throughout the story. He's like, hey, maybe we're not all bad. So
I love the character of X, and it's just so interesting. And I love that there's kind of like a lot of romance in this book. I thought that that was really great because you got this really dark backdrop, and it was really nice to have like this kind of romance going on in the story. And it was really interesting and very nice to read. So I appreciated that aspect too.
yeah, I'm very much a person who I will always have some type of romance in my books. I am a romance girly. So I really loved the idea of having Ruby and X who are on two very, very, very um ends of the same line, and how they kind of interact and coexist together when they're forced, to kind of strike a deal together. And so, yeah, it's a blast to kind of explore their dynamic.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Like how because they are so different, and it's just very interesting to see those two characters like develop together. And as the story like more happens, then you can definitely see how they change and evolve. So that was really interesting. And I also loved how you described like the different areas, different communities that the people are living in. Like the Vale is really its own distinct place. And then we see some other areas like, so that was really cool. We see the survivors in this apocalypse and how there's like, and all the slayers and different things. The slayers are trying to fight against the vampires that have taken over. That whole slayer element was really interesting too. Like, how is it like writing like the Slayer characters?
Oh, it was fun. Everybody was just so blast to write. I know I keep saying that, but I kind of also pulled from Buffy a lot and the fun dialogue and the humor from Buffy. But I
Mhm.
also knew that every Slayer is a little bit different. Everyone has its own story. And so I really wanted just to create this Mod Podge, if you will, of all of these different individuals who've experienced probably terrible things in the apocalypse, and they're trying to do their best, and everyone kind of deals with their grief and their anger in different ways. And so I had also so much fun writing Ginger, who is Ruby's best friend, who is also a Slayer in training. She was so fun with Sigmund, who was also a very interesting character. So yeah, I love the Slayer aspect because
Too,
I
yeah.
yeah, I so fun for a vampire novel anyway, and I don't know, I loved the idea of just creating a bunch of characters who simply wanted to take vampires down.
Yeah, it was just so awesome. Like I'm a huge Buffy fan. I grew up watching Buffy and then when I saw like and read about the Slayers, I was like this is just so awesome. Like I love that this is incorporated in the story of the vampire apocalypse. It makes complete sense and I love seeing all the characters and how they related with each other and I really think we're like drawn to these kinds of stories because everyone in some way deals with some kind of loss, in their lives and dark times. Like, was there any kind of like anything like personally that you found that you brought to the story when you wrote this? It feels like a very personal story. It's got a lot of emotion in it behind the characters and everything.
Yeah, so I originally came up with the idea for the Ground That Devours Us not long after COVID lockdown, which
Yes.
was probably one of the darkest times of my mental health, I would say. Dealing with a lot of anxiety, depression, panic attacks. Ruby also deals with in the novel. So I kind of wanted to explore that literary sense. And then I also just, when I was querying this book for literary agents, I had a setback that ended up with a chronic illness diagnosis. And so it was really just Ruby and I kind of fighting in the darkness, just kind of like crawling through this dark abyss together and finding light at the end of the tunnel. I would say that she really, or the story in general, just really saved me a lot. It allowed me to kind of forget what was going on for a while, and I think that was what I needed. And so I really wanted to create this character who was also experiencing a lot of darkness and is also a very broken character, but also goes on the journey and this realization that maybe there is still hope, even in such a desolate, barren landscape, which I also feel like can be the mind sometimes. But there's always hope and light, even in a sea of darkness. So.
Yes, that's a really important message. And especially for teens, I feel like that's a big transitional time for them. And they're dealing with a lot too. And I think this book is definitely focused on the teen age. But as an adult, I really think that it has a lot of interest too. There's so many different themes and different aspects of the book that people will connect with, and vampires are always a part of our, of our pop culture, and there's always like this is such definitely an interesting spin on it, and I think you did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, as a teen, I also experienced a lot of anxiety and depression, and I kind of hid my pain, say, through humor. And so I wanted Reed to play that out on the page as well. And I feel like a lot of teens might resonate with that because maybe they don't want to talk about all of those heavy emotions that they're experiencing, or they don't even know how. They don't know how to express them. They don't even know what they're experiencing. And so I hope that teenagers, as they read this, will find themselves on the page.
Yeah, I think that they definitely will. And I can't wait to recommend it to coworkers and friends. And it's already out. It was on sale from June 3rd, right? The Ground That Devours Us. So,
Yeah, you can pick it up.
and would you ever be interested in doing a spin-off book or continuing the story? Can you give us a little?
Yeah, I would say never. I have ideas in my head for a plot that could be a sequel, but I would also be interested in a spin-off with a specific side characters. I think that they would do really well to have their own storyline. These characters are also extremely morally gray, and so I think they might be a little misunderstood and to just give them their moment to shine on the page. But yeah, I definitely have ideas brewing, but I as of now I'm not planning on writing anything yet. Another project in the works. So I am focusing my creative attention to that. But
I really can't wait to read whatever other project you have, Kayla, in the future. Like, I really love your writing style, and it was such a pleasure speaking with you today.
thank you so much. Yeah, I had a blast and I'm just so grateful that you wanted to chat.
Oh, so thank you so much, Kayla Harris, for joining us on the Turn the Page podcast today. The Ground That Devours Us can be found in bookstores, and check out your local library. And we're going to close this chapter today.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.